The night my parents told me I was being too risky was the night I realized I couldn't rely on anyone but myself. I had a working prototype, proof of clients ready to sign contracts, and months of research backing me up, but their eyes slid past my dream like it was nothing more than a fragile trinket. That sting wasn't new. What came next, though, would change everything I thought I knew about family loyalty and just how far people would go when it suited them. I'm Isla. All my life, I learned how to shrink in the spaces I was supposed to feel safe. Our house in Austin looked perfect from the outside, warm brick and glowing windows, but inside, every decision, every ounce of attention, revolved around one person. My younger sister, Rosie. I was the quiet, disciplined one, the one who earned straight A's because it felt like duty. Rosie sparkled, our family's golden child. She got the stages, the applause, the investment. When I was 16, I asked for a used car so I wouldn't bake on the bus every summer afternoon. My parents said no, I was responsible enough to manage. I believed them, until Rosie's 16th birthday. Fairy lights twinkled across our backyard, friends and relatives clapped, and a brand new car rolled down the driveway, gleaming under the night sky. Everyone cheered. I clapped too, pretending it didn't cut deeper than I wanted to admit. It wasn't just the money. It was the message. I begged for $500 to attend a summer coding program, explained the curriculum, the doors it could open, and my mother said, "You can learn online. No need to waste money." 2 weeks later, Rosie flew to New York for a $12,000 acting camp, new luggage, celebratory dinner, the works. Everyone celebrated her talent. No one asked about mine. Even accomplishments weren't safe. I won a statewide science competition, a trophy I carried home with trembling pride. The living room was already crowded with relatives fawning over Rosie's ballet recital pictures. My certificate got a glance and a "That's nice, honey," before it disappeared under magazines by evening. That was the moment I stopped waiting for applause. I cooked my own dinners, managed my homework, and learned to survive without anyone noticing. When I got a partial scholarship to a prestigious university, my parents reminded me of the high cost of living. Meanwhile, Rosie received a farewell party before heading to another arts program. I still clung to a small hope that adulthood would bring fairness. That effort would finally count. That maybe, just maybe, my dreams would be met with the support they deserved. I was wrong. Patterns don't always fade with time. Some wounds don't heal just because you're older. After graduation, I threw myself into the tech world. Long nights, relentless deadlines, every ounce of energy spent building something real. 2 years in, I'd scraped together $40,000, every cent earned through overtime, careful budgeting, and saying no to everything I wanted. Then I had a breakthrough. A glaring gap in the construction industry, a working prototype, and 8 companies willing to commit once I brought it to life. I only needed $70,000. So I did something I almost never did. I flew home. I carried my plans, projections, and demo, rehearsed my pitch in the mirror, imagining for the first time my parents looking at me with pride. I believed this could change everything. When I finished, my father lowered his newspaper, expression flat. "It's too risky," he said. My mother nodded. "You already have a stable job. Don't gamble your life." No questions. No curiosity. Just dismissal. I closed my laptop slowly, swallowing the familiar sting of rejection. I told myself to breathe, reminded myself that disappointment wasn't new. But then came betrayal, the kind that cuts deeper than being overlooked. A few months later, while I was debugging code past midnight, my mother called. Breathless with excitement, she told me Rosie was launching a luxury event company in Dallas. A $725,000 loan, a BMW, and office designer outfits, networking parties, all the things they refused me were suddenly worth giving to her. I sat in the glow of my laptop, stunned. Not naive. I knew favoritism existed, but this was a statement. They had chosen her over me, clearly, without hesitation. And in that quiet apartment something shifted. Not rage yet. Just clarity. Cold, sharp, undeniable. If I wanted a future, I had to build it alone. Because the truth hit harder than any insult. I could spend years proving myself and they would still pick her. That night I made the hardest decision of my life. I mortgaged my condo, combined the funds with my savings, and launched my company alone. Fear was real, but at least it belonged to me. I rented a peeling, leaky office on the outskirts of the city. Hired 2 people I could trust completely. For months we lived on instant noodles, 18-hour days, laughter mixed with tears, coding until our eyes burned. Every setback hit hard, a contract lost, clients ghosting, the budget disappearing in front of me. But the thing that kept me going? Every memory of my parents' dismissive words. Every too risky. Every time they had invested in her dreams while ignoring mine. Then came the breakthrough. A smaller, steady contract in Sacramento. It wasn't glamorous, but it was proof. BuildFlow was alive. Rosie's company began to collapse under the weight of lavish spending and poor planning. Slowly, the tide was turning, and for the first time, the family that had never seen me truly struggle might finally understand the price of their choices. And while they floundered, I kept building. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below, what would you have done if you were in Isla's shoes? And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like, it really helps the channel. The first few months of BuildFlow felt like balancing on a knife's edge. Every decision, every line of code, every client call mattered. Miguel and Rachel were relentless in their support. But the weight of proving myself alone was crushing. I had no safety net. No one cheering me on. And every late night, as the city lights blurred outside the office windows, the memory of my family's dismissals played on loop. Then came the worst blow. A mid-sized construction company, a contract we had counted on, the one that could stabilize us, backed out at the last minute. Cold formal email. We've decided to go another direction. Just like that, months of planning vanished into thin air. I sat on the office floor long after Miguel and Rachel left, rain tapping against the cracked window, echoing my frustration. For a fleeting moment I thought they were right, maybe it really was too risky. Maybe I was foolish to believe anyone would take a chance on me. But then I remembered my father's flat dismissal, my mother's nod of approval for Rosie's extravagance. I remembered every no I'd swallowed, and something inside me hardened. I refused to fail in a way that would prove them right. Days later, an unexpected email changed everything. A construction company in Sacramento wanted to pilot our software for a year. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. Reliable revenue. Miguel, Rachel, and I collapsed into laughter and relief on the office floor. Dollar pizza in hand, the city lights gleaming outside like a tiny victory celebration. BuildFlow was breathing again. And with each small win, confidence returned. Meanwhile, news from Austin began trickling in. Rosie's luxury events empire, the one funded by lavish loans and gifts, was crumbling. Clients were disappearing. Expenses had spiraled out of control. Her BMW was repossessed. Her grand office, empty. And my parents, the ones who had once cheered her every step, were suddenly reaching for me. The first call came on a Thursday evening. My phone buzzed incessantly. Finally I picked up. Isla, my mother's voice trembled. We need your help. The bank. The house, we need $100,000 to fix this. I froze. $100,000. The same amount I had painstakingly saved through sleepless nights, living on noodles and coffee, building something of my own. It was every ounce of my independence, everything I had fought for. Before I could respond, my father took the phone. His words were sharp, cold. You're successful now. You have money. We raised you. We invested in you. Now it's time to repay the family. Sell your home if you need to. Sell my home. I whispered to myself, my chest tightening. The very condo I mortgaged to survive, the foundation of BuildFlow, suddenly treated as a bank account for their failures. My breath steadied. Dad, I can't, I said quietly. This condo isn't just walls and floor. It's every late night, every risk, every sacrifice. Silence hung heavy. My father sighed. So you're choosing yourself over your family, he muttered. Something inside me snapped, not in anger but in clarity. I wasn't choosing selfishly. I was choosing fairness. Something I had never received. I'm choosing fairness, I said, voice calm but firm. My mother's sobs came immediately. Rosie's face twisted in outrage. My father muttered about ingratitude. I hung up before the waves of guilt could wash over me. For the next week, the calls and texts didn't stop. Rosie fired off entitled messages. You're the only one who can fix this. You owe us. Stop being selfish. But nothing prepared me for the moment they came to my door. It was a warm autumn afternoon in San Jose. The doorbell rang insistently. I opened it to find my father, mother, and Rosie standing there, all three of them radiating expectation, each step echoing entitlement. "We need to talk," my father said, brushing past me without waiting for an invitation. They settled on my modest couch, the space starkly contrasting with the luxury Rosie was accustomed to. I stayed standing, a wall of calm between us. My mother tried softening me first. "Isla, what happened with Rosie's company? No one could predict it. She just needs time." I said nothing. My father leaned forward, voice low but insistent. "You have the ability to help. Sell this place. Use the money to save the family." Finally, Rosie spoke, her tone thick with accusation. "You know, I didn't mean for things to fall apart, but you're doing well. Why can't you do something for us for once?" The word once nearly made me laugh. For once. All my life they had been given everything: ballet classes, camps, cars, a $725,000 loan, and when I asked for $70,000 after years of effort, planning, and preparation, they said it was too risky. "Do you hear yourselves?" I asked, letting the words hang in the air. Rosie rolled her eyes, flustered. My father tried to intervene. "We believed in her dream. She needed help." "You didn't," I said, calm but unyielding. "Exactly the difference. You trusted me to survive alone. You trusted her to be saved at every turn." "You're being dramatic," Rosie shot back. "This is family. Families help each other." I looked at her with a kind of quiet sadness she had never seen. Families also recognize effort. They acknowledge sacrifice. They don't demand their children destroy the very things they've built. My father's voice sharpened, desperation creeping in. "So that's it? You'll let us lose everything?" I saw fear flicker across their faces. Not fear of failure, they were scared of losing control, the illusion they had maintained through Rosie. But I remembered the nights I coded until dawn, the meals I skipped, the condo I fought for. My voice was steady. "I'm sorry you're struggling," I said, "but I am not selling my home." My mother sobbed. Rosie scoffed. My father shook his head. They waited for me to crumble, to apologize, to explain. I didn't. "No," I said softly, carrying the weight of every overlooked effort, every dismissed dream. Rosie surged to her feet. "You're heartless." "No," I said. "I'm finally done being your backup plan." My father's face hardened. "You'll regret this." I walked to the door, opened it, and stepped aside. They filed past, each step echoing the end of a story I'd tried for years to fix. My mother paused, eyes pleading for a version of me that no longer existed. I didn't respond. I closed the door. Click. Soft, certain, final. I leaned against it, letting the quiet condo settle around me. Tears came, then stopped, not because I wasn't hurt, but because for the first time I had chosen myself. And choosing myself didn't feel selfish. It felt necessary. The months that followed were quiet, almost eerily so. Build flow grew slowly but steadily. Every small contract, every satisfied client, felt like a personal victory. Miguel and Rachel became more than just team members, they were my family now. A family that didn't dismiss me, belittle my efforts, or expect me to sacrifice everything for someone else. For the first time, I felt a calm confidence that wasn't dependent on approval, applause, or comparisons. Meanwhile, news from Austin trickled in like tiny drops of vindication. Rosie's luxury event company, once the glittering jewel of my parents' favoritism, was collapsing. Her lavish office lease was terminated. The BMW she flaunted was repossessed. Her clients, the ones who once clapped at every idea, had vanished. And the calls and texts from my parents? Endless. Every message dripping with desperation, pleading for help. The first real test came on a Thursday evening. My phone rang, my mother, her voice trembling. "Isla, please, the bank, the house, we need $100,000. I paused. I let the weight of every no I had ever swallowed press into my mind. Every dismissal. Every unequal treatment. Every time I had been told it's too risky. "I can't," I said calmly. The line went silent. And in that silence, I felt something settle inside me. I wasn't just refusing. I was reclaiming. I wasn't their bank account, their safety net, or their emotional lifeline. I was my own person. Weeks later, they showed up at my door. My parents and Rosie together, thinking a confrontation could intimidate me. I opened the door and there they were. My father stern, my mother weary, Rosie defiant. They wanted compliance. They wanted control. But I stood steady, silent for a long moment before speaking. Every word carried years of overlooked effort, of swallowed apologies, of ignored dreams. For once you've been given everything, I said, looking each of them in the eye. I asked for support and you said no. She asked and you said yes. That's the difference. I built something real. You refused to see it. I am not selling my home. I am not destroying the foundation that allowed me to survive. They tried every tactic: guilt, tears, anger, manipulation. But it was too late. I had already crossed the line from compliance to clarity. My decisions were no longer about keeping the peace. They were about preserving my life, my future, my integrity. And then the real payoff began. BuildFlow began to flourish. Contracts multiplied. Clients came from places I had only dreamed of reaching. Miguel and Rachel celebrated each success as if it were their own child being born. Our small office, once peeling and cold, became a hub of creativity and energy. We moved into a larger space, added more team members, and finally my company felt like a living, breathing thing, not just a dream. Meanwhile, back in Austin, my parents' desperation grew. Rosie's company declared bankruptcy. The loans they had lavished on her? Defaulted. Every call, every email, every frantic attempt to salvage what they had built around favoritism met with the same quiet resolve. I wouldn't save them. I had already saved myself. Months later, the final confirmation of my vindication came in the most poetic way. One of Rosie's former high-paying clients reached out, not to my family, but to me, requesting BuildFlow's services. Word spread fast. The reputation my family had cherished, the image they had protected at all costs, now shifted. Clients, once loyal to the name of my parents' favoritism, recognized real value. And I was the one delivering it. I never sought revenge for revenge's sake. I didn't gloat or publicly shame them. I simply chose myself. And that choice was louder than any argument, any plea, any demand they could have thrown at me. My parents learned slowly, painfully, that effort, talent, and integrity mattered more than appearances or entitlement. The red brick house I grew up in eventually sold. My father retired early, diminished by his own decisions. My mother sought refuge in church and charity, trying to fill the emptiness of her choices. Rosie moved away, forced to live in a world where her charm and entitlement no longer protected her. And me? I built a life defined not by others' approval, but by my own standards. Some nights I sit on the small patio of my Palo Alto home, sipping coffee, listening to the quiet hum of a neighborhood that feels mine. The pain of my family's betrayal hasn't vanished, it never will, but it has softened into a steady strength. I have clients, a team, and a company that respects the effort I put in. I have dignity, independence, and clarity. The best revenge isn't shouting. It isn't public humiliation. It's calm. It's persistence. It's proving that those who dismissed you, ignored you, or exploited your loyalty were simply unprepared for the consequences of underestimating you. I never wanted to hurt my family. I only wanted to live my life, to honor my work, and to claim the future I had built with my own hands. And in doing so, I finally understood what freedom felt like. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or forced to fight alone for your dreams, remember this. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is survival. It is fairness. And sometimes, it is the only way to show the world your true worth. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below, have you ever had to stand up for yourself against the people who were supposed to support you?